Hello scholars, today we are starting chapter number 15, The Struggle Towards Freedom. For centuries, India was known for its wealth. India's geographical locations and its wide resources with rich culture had made it prosperous. It was well known for spices, cotton, and silk textiles, pearls, jewelry, and other things. Arabs, Greeks, and Romans had trade relations with India. West European countries were also interested in developing trade with it. Portuguese were the first to reach India. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese sailor, reached Calicut through the Cape of Good Hope in 1498. He got permission from the ruler of Calicut to carry on trade with India. Gradually, the Portuguese established political power over areas like Calicut, Goa, Daman, and Diu. Later on, traders from Holland, France, and England were also attracted towards India. They fought among themselves. The British threw out other European countries. In England, a small group of 100 English merchants formed the East India Company in 1600 AD. The company got the British Queen's permission to have trade relations with the countries of the East. The company received permission to trade in India from the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. The company's first ship landed at Surat, a big port on the west coast of India. Later on, the Britishers built settlements and godowns called factories at Madras, Calcutta, and Bombay. The English traders also built forts around their settlements and kept armed soldiers to protect themselves. India at that time was divided into small kingdoms, which were often at war with one another. The East India Company took advantage of this. Battle of Plassey. Bengal at that time was ruled over by Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah. He was upset by the activities of the British. He saw danger to his throne. He asked the Britishers to remove their armies and guns from the fort of Calcutta. But the British refused to do so. A battle was fought at Plassey in 1757 between the forces of Nawab and the British. Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah lost the battle and the British became powerful in Bengal. Many kings in our country were fighting among themselves. The British helped one against the other. They benefited from internal fights of the kings and captured a large part of India. They collected a large sum of money from the kings and the people. Let us learn about the injustice of the British in India. The administration of East India Company forced the farmers of Bihar to grow indigo, a plant from which a blue powder used for dyeing cloth is made. The British traders brought it at a low price. This dye was used in England for dyeing mill cloth. The farmers has no need for indigo as they needed food grains to feed themselves. They were forced to sell indigo to the British at a low price. Thus, the Indian farmers became poor under the British rule. Even the cotton and silk textile weavers were compelled to sell the cloth at a very low price. The Indian cottage industry also became the victim of British greed. Britain did not grow cotton due to cold climate, but they had big cotton textile mills which required cotton. So, cotton was bought from here at a low price and sent to Britain. In return, cotton cloth was shipped back to India and sold in Indian market. The Indians had to buy this cloth at a high price. The British did not allow Indians to start their own mills or factories, which affects the livelihood of all the people who were depending on the mills or factories of cotton textiles. Under such conditions, the farmers, artisans, and even the traders became unhappy. The kings and the Nawabs were also dissatisfied. They were treated badly and many lost their kingdoms. The British made unjust laws to take control of more and more kingdoms in India. One such law was the doctrine of lapse, which said that if a king died without a child, his kingdom was taken over by the British. The ruler of Jhansi died, and British decided not to allow his adopted son to become the next ruler. They wanted to take over the kingdom under British rule. But the Queen of Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai, fought against it, but she died. People in general were unhappy with the unjust and greedy ways of the British. Most of Indians in almost every walk of life lost their livelihood. The zamindari system has made the lives of the farmers miserable. The kings and the princes lost their power. The Indian soldiers were paid less than the British soldiers. In this way, the British had done a lot of injustice to all the people of India. Let us learn about the revolt of 1857. The Indians expressed their unhappiness, but it was not done by all the Indians at a time. The revolt of 1857 started over a large part of India. This revolt was also known as the First War of Independence. It began as a mutiny by the Indian soldiers in British Army. It started from Meerut, Uttar Pradesh, a place near Delhi, then expanded to the different places of the country, including Barakpur, West Bengal, Meerut, Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi, Gwalior, Arah, Bihar, and Faizabad. Let us know about the causes of this revolt. In 1857, a new rifle was introduced in the army. A rumor spread that the cartridges had a greased paper cover which had to be bitten off. The grease was made of fat of cows and pigs. This offended both the Hindu and the Muslim soldiers. The revolt spread to many parts of northern and central India. People from all walks of life supported and took active part in the revolt. They made Bahadur Shah Zafar, the old and powerless Mughal emperor, as their leader. Some brave leaders led people against the British in different parts of North India. Nana Sahib and Tantia Tope from Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, Kuwar Singh from Bihar, Liaquat Ali, Begum Hazrat Mahal of Awadh, Uttar Pradesh, and Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi were important among them. They called upon the people to rise and fight for justice against British. After a fierce battle, the British soldiers captured Delhi city and the palace. They killed hundreds of people. Many villages were burnt down. Thousands were hanged. And Bahadur Shah and his two sons were taken prisoners. The sons were later shot dead, and the old emperor was sent away to Burma, which is now known as Myanmar. Let us learn about the result of the revolt of 1857. The revolt was failed, as the British had better trained soldiers and superior weapons. Moreover, the Indians were disorganized and hence they lost the resistance against British. The consequences of the revolt was end of the East India Company. It was taken over by the British government. The Indian provinces were brought under the authority of the British Raj. A Governor General was appointed by the British government to rule over India. He was also called the Viceroy. The new rulers also oppressed the Indian people. The revolt of 1857 did not succeed in freeing India from the British control, but it was the foundation of a joint resistance by Indians in different walks of life to British rule. The determination of Indians later freed India from the shackles of British rule. Now we have come to the end of the chapter. So let us revise what we have studied in chapter number 15, the struggle towards freedom. In this chapter, we have studied that India was well known for its spices, cotton, textiles, pearls, and jewelry. European countries were interested in developing trade with India. Britishers were able to establish their hold for trade in India. The Britishers were very cruel to the Indians. Indians were unhappy and dissatisfied under the British rule. They revolted against the British in 1857. The Britishers suppressed the revolt and killed thousands of people. After the revolt, India came under the rule of British government. I hope you have understood the chapter. Do the reading of the chapter and complete your written work. Thank you.